Hello. My name is Una, and I'd like to tell you a story about a place called Earth. There's no place like known space. It's where we all live. For more than 120 trillion sentient beings, this universally familiar slogan pretty much summed up the reality of life in the biggest organized civilization in the last 10 billion years. To be perfectly honest, most of the inhabited worlds, within the confines of known space, are a tad on the, shall we say, stuffy side. This counterintuitive condition is due primarily to the fact that, in order to interact and participate with the vast interstellar community, a planet must have overcome the petty little issues of higher civilization, like war, racial hatred, ignorance, poverty, and greed. The day-to-day reality for those inhabiting known space consists largely of mostly polite, friendly beings, being mostly polite and friendly to one another. Now, it is true that all this niceness does score very high on the desirable quality of life scale, but, for many, it falls somewhat short on the naughty, sleazy, funometer. It is commonly known to everyone, simply, everyone, that pre-contact worlds are where the real thrills are to be had. A prime example of this common wisdom can be found located at the far, lower left rear corner of known space, called Spiral Arm Q75. The low-rent end of Q75, the kind of place where no highly evolved entity would ever be caught taking on a physical form. Right in the center of this galactic backwater is one truly notable bright spot. It's a small blue-green gem of a world, a standout in its local star system. A planet with glittering, wind-swept seas of quaintly liquid water, soaring mountains, endless deserts, primeval jungles, and a diversity of life that intrigue many. Its biospheric beauty was not, however, the reason for its unique fame. Planets of this type and structure are commonplace across the whole of known space, hundreds of thousands of them in fact. All basically the same. Nor was there any creatures present there, which could not be found, in one form or another, on any number of other worlds. None were, what you would call, unique. No, what made this particular planet so extraordinary was the fact that twice every standard time cycle, more than 44% of all Beam subscribers watching the known space's #1 media content provider tuned in faithfully to follow the ongoing, wacky misadventures of everyone's favorite bipedal, pre-contact, hairless simian-like creatures, the Earthlings. Earth, by no means, is the only planet being monitored continually for entertainment content. Many are, but Earth was different. It is, bar none, the most popular program being beamed to the subscribers, but only since the tragic time unit, when the much-beloved program, Black Hole Bowling, unexpectedly and spontaneously imploded and crushed the entire production company, the cast, the guest celebrities and 4-star systems, into a singularity. Extraterrestrials, as the Earthlings call them, have clandestinely visited the Earth for hundreds of centuries and have left their subtle but indelible mark upon it. Like smudges on a glass table. Early on, the show, Earthlings, was what those in the entertainment industry referred to as a slow starter. Not too bad, but not too good as well. Viewers seemed to like the main characters well enough, bipedal, scruffy, even lovable, misfit creatures, playing with fire, banging rocks together, and humping like womp rats. But sadly, no amount of clever editing, crossfade tricks, snappy graphics, or screen wipes could change the fact that, at its heart, the Earthlings was a third-rate nature show at best. After the initial few thousand seasons, demographic sampling data clearly showed that the audience was getting weary of the whole hunter-gatherer living in harmony with nature thing. It wasn't working. Viewership plummeted, sponsors bailed, and even the traditional killing and eating of the last production assistant hired did little to help. With the show on the very threshold of cancellation, certain entertainment executives, floating languidly in their crystalline cylinders of glowing blue liquid, decided it was time for a change. The show needed a new direction, and what better way to accomplish this than by shaking up the format of the show a bit. It had worked wonders on I Married a Plasmoid, so why not here too? After a few contacts were reached out to in private, and a few legally dubious contracts were signed, the best planetary consultants that the budget could afford were set to their task and headed for the show's production facility on the dark side of the planet's lone moon. After a seemingly endless cycle of meetings discussing and debating the latest focus groups, rebranding concepts, market testing, viewer feedback data, and concluding with the reading of the entrails of a large flightless bird, it was decided to ignore the non-interference protocols set by the parent company and give the whole show a swift kick in the bum. Calls were made and soon, some people, who knew some people, who knew some people, were actively employed and the retooling of the show began. These off-world interlopers, known as tweakers, were the ones responsible for the assignment of DNA splicing and gene resequencing that resulted in a permanent doubling of human intelligence across the board. The executive's thinking played out like this: a monkey with 2 brain cells to slap together was twice as likely to make a bloody mess of everything around it and completely foul their own environment to the point of planetary crisis, which would lead straight to famine, plague, pestilence, war, social upheaval, and mass hysteria. In other words, drama. The rich, bloody heart of all great beam programming. It was so simple a concept that even a one-brain-celled monkey could understand it. Like wildfire, deliciously messy drama swept across the face of the planet. And subscribers took notice. Viewership soared. It not only turned the show's popularity around in record time, it exploded into a known space phenomenon of epic proportions. Over the next 6,000 seasons, the show's fan base has expanded, seemingly exponentially, to include, over time units, beings from every level of known space society. The show, as they say, is what all the cool kids are watching. The show is so omnipopular that it is said that every time unit, a baby something is being born at a Earthlings fan convention, somewhere within known space. Longtime fans of the show, or Earthies, as they prefer to be called, spend countless time units endlessly debating the minutiae of the show's innumerable details. Among the favorite topics of debate at these many conventions, known space-wide, is what was the biggest single leap forward for the monkeys, what was the real flashpoint of the show. One faction claims it was agriculture, the ending of a nomadic lifestyle and allowing for permanent settlements to begin. Still others point to movable type printing as the trigger of change and the spread of literacy. Vast numbers of fans favor the Industrial Revolution as the true kickoff, but when mankind split the atom, the Earthies fan base lost their collective hive minds. The one thing that virtually all fans agree on is that the show has never been better than it has been for the last few seasons, namely the totality of the 20th century of Earth history. That's seasons K46Pi54 through L87F42 to you Earthies. But, this time unit in Earth history was shamelessly manipulated by powers far outside of human control or human comprehension. The facts speak for themselves. 100,000 years of hairless monkey history, without a single planet-wide conflict, or any significant environmental impact to speak of, and then, boom! Within roughly 100 Earth years, humans, as they call themselves, their achievements swelled up like a cultural puffball and spewed forth the spores of knowledge. That would be human knowledge, of course, not real knowledge like you and I have access to. Mechanical engineering and electrical technology take huge simultaneous leaps, while at the same time, powered flight is achieved. Steel-hulled ships break the waves of all seven seas, and hairless monkeys ride exploding tubes into orbit and back again. Names like Edison, Einstein, and Tesla cranking away at the invention mill like it was a cotton gin. By the way, all three of them were working for the producers in secret. There was, not one, but two world wars, less than 20 years apart, a global arms race. There was massive cultural revolution, sexual revolution, political revolution, global warming all over the place, a hole in the ozone, nuclear power, a worldwide computer network, and the AgentJaye trial. When a planet goes into this kind of psychotic hyperdrive of progress, it can be summed up in one word. Ratings. Viewers were transfixed. The producers were elated, and merchandising was making a killing. With each passing season, the whole planet seemed to be careening out of control, from one disaster to another. The fan base, as they say, ate it up with a spoon. It was like watching a baby take its first steps, while carrying a plasma torch around in a chemical processing plant. Fans couldn't look away. A standout example of an earthy favorite episode was what is referred to as the back and to the left episode. Still routinely voted as the favorite blooper clip to screen at the conventions. On Earth, humans to this very day still ponder the truth about this terrible event in a place called Dallas. Off-world, however, it is a different story. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was the right man at the right time on Earth, as in the heavens. The show's writers had always wanted Kennedy to be the one to start World War III, and to use this event as a season finale cliffhanger. Let's face it, with his good looks and winning smile, humans would believe anything that fell out of his charming, Irish gob. To ensure that all would go smoothly, with such an important plot point, Kennedy himself was actually contacted by a mid-level production assistant. The president was informed that he would be launching a first-strike nuclear attack against the USSR as a response to the sinking of an American warship off the coast of Cuba within the year. Also, he was told to get rid of the blonde floozy with the drug problem, the one he was playing hide the pickle with, when his brother wasn't doing the same. That was a giant shitstorm just waiting to happen, and his attention was needed fully elsewhere. Here was the human race, which had made such tremendous leaps forward, within only one short monkey lifetime unit, and now they could potentially lose it all in a single moment of atomic folly. Fans were on the edge of their collective seating units, all of them asking the same questions. Could they save themselves? Who would live? Who would die? It was going to be so sweet to let it all unfold before them. Now, as the story goes, Kennedy flatly refused to help cast humanity into a nuclear firestorm. Furthermore, the silly sod felt it was his duty to the people of Earth to enlighten them to the fact that they were not alone in the universe, but part of a much greater cosmos. Of course, Rose Kennedy's little boy Jack was immediately removed and relocated off-world in short order. He was then placed in a zoological park in another star system and seemed happy enough with this arrangement. Why wouldn't he? It had an open bar and all the floozies he could ever want. A sweetheart deal, to be sure. JFK's role was immediately recast with a standard level 6 biodroid, as was common in such circumstances. The Kennedy droid performed beautifully while on its way to getting all the missiles flying, thus guaranteeing the show its greatest ratings share ever. Then, fate stepped in and promptly pissed on the whole thing. On that infamous day in a city called Dallas, as the presidential motorcade slowed and turned into Dealey Plaza, one of the power regulator nodes located in the back of the JFK droid's neck suffered a massive power spike and burst. This created a system-wide chain reaction throughout the entire neuroplasma network of the trillionic brain, causing it to explode 3.5 seconds later, right in front of God, Abraham Zapruder, and everybody. It seems that the droid had come from one of the show's many sponsors in an attempt at clever product placement. It eventually came to light, at the internal inquest, that the mid-level sales manager who filled the Kennedy droid order had shipped out a reconditioned demo model he had bought on the cheap. Then he pocketed the significant cash difference from the original invoice price. This seemingly harmless scam had, at a single stroke, destroyed decades of work and threatened to completely derail the entire story arc for seasons to come. Without Kennedy as the linchpin, the nuclear death from above plotline was a complete bust. After a panicked, emergency, top-level meeting of the show's producers, it was decided to take the only honorable course of action open to them, namely, set fire to the whole place, file for the insurance money and deny everything like the showbiz professionals they were. Then, just as the head production manager was entering the last of the self-destruct codes into the show's main computer, he chanced to overhear a low-level office temp ask if anyone else had noticed that funny-looking guy up there in the window of that building over there. With this single, frail straw, clutched tightly in their fists, the writers sprang into action. Good old Lee Harvey Oswald, he saved the day. I hope you have enjoyed this story. Thank you, and please share the link with friends and family. So long for now.